Hey Pisces, Aries season, April, coming out the week of the eclipse in Aries, first one. We're starting in them. Going from Taurus and Scorpio, we'll have the ending of those eclipses this year as well. So if you want to take a look at anywhere where Taurus, Scorpio, Libra, or Aries are in your chart, I highly recommend, if you're someone who doesn't know a lot about it, you can easily find out like what that means or like the generalization, and then you could further look into it yourself or sit with it yourself. I usually recommend that to anyone. To always, you can read what you want, but going with your intuition is probably the most important, and maybe that's important to your reading today because I have not said that yet. So before we get into it, all information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as the extended versions to these readings, which are on fire according to me. So I highly recommend checking them out. They'll be in a Patreon link below. But let's get into it because you already have the King of Wands out. So this month, you are coming into it at least with the intention and wanting to have some kind of dominance. You also want to be in control of some extent. But then we have the Hangman come up and say, well, you need patience, sir, ma'am, whomever. You need to understand that even with such a strong personality, even with someone with many wonderful leadership skills, we all have our time to sit back. The Hangman is literally the theme, so maybe I'll call you guys the Hangman or call this reading the Hangman this month. But the thing is here is that it's a very prominent pattern throughout most, if not all, the readings this month. So Aries season is not only this go-getter season. It's also understanding that Aries go after whatever it is that's on their mind and what they want. And it's driven by the purpose to do it, for sure. It doesn't mean they have that whatever they're doing is their purpose. They're not those kinds of people all the time. But we end with you. You need, whether it's your initial career where you're making most of the bulk of your money, or it's something on the side, or it's something that you just like to do for yourself. Every Pisces needs that amongst the job they do to make the money for whatever you need to make the money for. But every Pisces also needs that side gig, whether you're making money off of it or not. Because if you're not doing what you're passionate about, this is for all water signs pretty much, but everyone's is a different kind of intensity and a different space and different frequency, of course. But you guys all need that. You need the things that you're good at, that you love, that you enjoy, that you can do for yourself, that maybe you do for a few others or many others, whatever it is. You need that. And this month, I highly recommend focusing on that. Why? Well, because wherever it is that, or putting less focus on wherever you make the bulk of your money and meet your physical needs. Because the thing is, even if you want something and you want to will it into existence, or time is still passing where you are stuck in this place of, if I only focus on this, this is what's going to happen. Now, many signs need to hear that at different times, but we've just come out of a really melancholy / heavy / mutable, mixed energy this past month. Yeah, it's been kind of it's still to an extent that way, but Aries season is giving us the little fire that we need to, whether it is one thing or the other, to understand whatever is like something that deeply does not resonate with us or deeply does not work for us, whether it's a part of your own personality or whatever it's in your physical life, whatever it is, that thing is becoming extremely, extremely prominent in a direct way. This is about how this is a lot about your means, your money, your values, right? So we're going to go through these all even more in the extended. But even here, you can say you are juggling a lot. You're juggling who you see yourself as, right? And whatever that means to you, and how you envision yourself, how you see yourself, maybe how others see you. Has to do with more of how you see yourself in your partner, how you see, because some signs also take things and put things in different spaces. And even though we can think Pisces has it all meshed together, you don't. Some things mesh together because that's how, sometimes it happens. But there are things that are placed in different areas. But this month is saying that there's a link between it all, right? 2, 9, 10, 1, right? This is how maybe you see you and your partner, how you grew up, right? That family dynamic, how they value, what they value, how that immediately makes you value what you value. But now you're thinking of, okay, what if that changes? What if what I'm juggling here is only feels taxing, or only feels like I need to control it because there's something maybe you're not admitting to yourself, that how these things come together, or it's a whole different idea of how you see your life. It's maybe not what you've seen before. It's maybe something a little bit different than how most people do things. It doesn't mean they have to be separate. And the more that you feel, because feelings are important for you and how you direct your energy, the more you feel more confident about that as a whole internally, doesn't mean you have to do anything externally, the more that will become. The more opportunities, the more understanding, the more you get to not, because you can see they're going against each other. It's not about running away from your fate. It's about running towards it. So if you're finding that something is harder, or you feel like you have to force something, maybe you have to let go and let go of control. I'm going to say let go of control, but you can let go and let your destiny, if you believe in that, fate, happen. But this Hanged Man is saying that there's things that you can't see until you're willing to take a look at X, Y, and Z. Taking a look at you, how you see yourself, how you envision yourself, how that holds up, how that also is just one view of you. As like multi-dimensional creatures, we're not just this 2D cartoon happening here, right? You have a whole ass hand, and maybe to, someone else, if you believe in the simulation or whatever, it could be that way, but it's not. The growth here as well is if you are combining forces and you are bringing your money together with a partner, or you are bringing your money together or having more conversations about that, about your work life, or if you're bringing it into therapy. I know those are different contexts. Either way, though, it's going to result in something so much better for you. And it's going to show you that you've been maybe running away from what you're meant to have right now. Could that change? Absolutely. There will be change in our lives. But how much do we really change? Think about it. These small little shifts, just because someone changes drastically on the outside doesn't mean they've changed as a person. Sometimes that is the equal representation, but it's not all times, right? So you don't realize that this kind of, and this is said for a lot of people, but you coming in with wanting so much control, and the Hangman's automatically like, you can't have that. That's not how this works. You think you're in a cardinal sign and you can gain more control, and even the cardinal signs have to submit to the ether, have to submit to the universe, have to go with that, because every time they go against it, they also have issues. As a mutable sign, you think you'd be more flexible, but every mutable sign also has their inflexibilities. So here you are wanting this thing, or coming in thinking that this is what's going to happen just because you say so, or just because you want it or you need it, you don't realize, like, the way that this is set up, if I can show it to you, I have the King of Wands, Hanged Man, and then I have the Four Pentacles, and then I have 2, so 2, 4, 2. We have the King of Wands, the Nine of Pentacles, because I think it's really important to even look at it in this context too. It's all very different. And then you have the Knight of Wands right below. So, and the Knight of Wands and the King of Wands are both facing away from everything that is being looked at here. So you can choose to ignore this for as long as you want, but the eclipse is not going to let you ignore it for too long, especially if you're a Pisces rising, you have Aries in the second house. The second house has to do with money. And I also want you guys to, let's hone it in a little bit. It's okay this month, because this is setting out the context for the next year and a half of the major themes that are going to run throughout your life. But you also have, for those of you with Sun in Pisces, you have Pisces and Saturn going through Pisces right now. I'm a little dyslexic when it comes to that. So you have that happening, which I recently learned is either the same intensity, if not more intense, than a Saturn return. Okay, so if you're not necessarily in your Saturn return, but you have major Pisces placements, it can feel scary because this pull of death, like this pull of whatever is unnecessary and what needs to be looked at, what needs to be merged, what needs to be dispersed is all happening now. And you're like, I just have to sit here and let this happen. Like, and I said this in another sign, like, it's Aries season, I'm supposed to be blah, blah, blahing. No, you're not. That doesn't mean anything. We forget that fire is also very spiritual, the spiritual element, the element of spirit. Aries is ruled by the spirit, not just fire, not just the physical grounds and what they can uncover here. They're going through a spiritual change as well. So if you know any Aries suns in your life that aren't going through somewhat of a spiritual change in their life, it could be that whatever they're dealing with roots down to that, or anyone with certain Aries placements, okay? So the evolution, I look to the evolution of the signs and where we're at in this life, and we do, as you know, need to talk about these things. And you're known to be the spiritual sign, but we forget that the sun sign, in my belief, and I want to share this here, is that it's always growing. I was told that and I liked that, and I was like, that makes sense. You're growing into that version. How do I know? How do you know? Like, what do you mean by that? Let me tell you. I'm very Venusian, so the reason why this is called the Venusian wave is because I realize how Venusian I am, how much I love beauty, how much that makes me happy. I like aesthetic. I like things to be, what I've just learned, the new word, a Danish word is hygge, is very cozy. You know, I want people to feel welcome, you know, but I also have a lot of Scorpio, Virgo in my chart, and Taurus and Libra in certain places. It's easier for me not to do things with anyone. Like, it's easier for me to do shit by myself, for the most part. And then I was taught, and I also do see this in myself, is that through relationships, that's where I grow. Period. Doesn't matter what relationship it is in my life, I'm growing from it. Whether I'm learning that this person is not good for me anymore, if this situation is reoccurring and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta really take care of this pattern. I have to be willing to be more communicative. I have to learn to really know what my needs are with people, because when you're used to doing things on your own, it can result in that way. So you're a Pisces, you're growing, you're always growing in your spiritual nature. So if you get stuck sometimes in thinking like, why is this happening to me, or why can't I make this happen? Maybe there's a spiritual side to it. Maybe there's how can I deepen my faith in this process? If I haven't taken a look at this yet, and if this is something new for me, or this is a trauma point for me, or this is a trigger point for me, how can I nurture this part of me instead of ignore it? Because it's just going to keep coming back, especially with the eclipses running through. If you're a Pisces rising, your second house. Mars was in Gemini. I'm just giving a little more personal information because it's so important to know that, like, we all have struggles with this. I had Mars transiting my second house, which is Gemini, for a while, and that I learned a lot. I'm still integrating what I've learned because it just transited into Cancer, which is now my third and fourth house. So what you can gather from this is that, if not anything, you're going to learn. You're going to evolve certain parts of yourself. So if you find yourself in a scenario that's reminding you of something from the past that was really hard to deal with, or you've dealt with it, but it's coming back up. Well, it's coming back up because if it's in context of any kind of relationship, it's because there's still more there. And the more that you deal with it in a way that you would now instead of then, that's what heals what has happened then. That's how it transforms what has happened then. In certain ways are easier than others. And in this context, this is about your spirituality, your spiritual nature, whether, whatever you believe in. That's why I say spiritual, because it's religious, whatever it is, you can find context in that value. Venus is running through Gemini, and we'll get all into more of that in the second part. But all of that has an equal value to how you relate in your life, what you choose to buy in terms of material objects, how you choose to live right now. And now they're doing work next door. Sorry about this. But we're gonna get into the second part anyway. But you can't run from it anymore. You have to go through it. And you also have Aquarius, Pisces risings, Aquarius in the 12th house right now, and it's Pluto's moving through Aquarius for a while. The 12th house is about the subconscious, everything in the dark, mysticism. It's your house. And now you have, for Pisces rising, those of you who have this in their chart, because all charts are unique, for real, you have this running through there now, and you can't hide from it. I know. You think that you would get a break at some point, but your breaks come from every small victory, every moment that you allow yourself to shift and not force yourself or make yourself have to think you have to be somebody or this certain person that you've always been. This is a different time for you. You can, of course, promise your very natural characteristics. However, I think that you also have to find that whatever's pulling you, wherever you feel the energy pulling you, maybe that's where you should check out, All right. We'll see you in the second part, which will be in a link below, and next month. All right, Pisces, hang in there. You got this. You got it.